Emulate the taste of like non-chicken nuggets. So these nuggets are made from chicken, but they're made to emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
Oh, that's much better.
Edit all the blather out of your videos because my time is very precious.
Oh, that's fire.
Make it less teal and more
Cerulean? Sure.
Replace your background with something more fun? The cold void of outer space.
Let's boost that sound quality. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
It needs more style. It needs more clips, more gifs, more. Well, I might have made it too gnarly.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I am your co-host, Aaron, joined by Jodi Innerfield, who's a marketing strategist. And just making sure you clicked on the right link in your calendar and you know where you are, we are going to be improving our product marketing through storytelling. So if you want people to understand your product at your product demo video, you are in the right place. Jodi, thank you for joining us and for being the host and the star of the show today.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. And shout out Trevor in support and Fiona backstage for helping us coordinate everything and get everybody here, navigating the technical issues, which I think we have a handle on, but you never know. In the chat, let us know what made you sign up for this. Why are you here taking up to an hour out of your busy Wednesday to become a better product marketer? Was it the storytelling? Is it the product demo videos? I know I need to make some, but I'm not good at it, or mine haven't been very successful in the past. Or it's just your lunch break and this was better than Spotify. We won't be offended. In the chat, what brought you here and got you to sign up? While we're doing that, few logistical questions. This is recorded. It will live on YouTube in perpetuity. So if you miss part of it or have to leave early, you can catch the rest of it. We'll also send out a link to everybody who registered with your email address that will have links to everything we talk about today and the full recording. So don't worry if you miss part of that. And then, of course, this is live. We're real humans. You know, the new thing is put 3 fingers in front of your face and prove you're not AI. It's not pre-recorded. So one of the reasons we like that is you have the chat. And if there's something that you want to know or have expanded on or hear a different explanation of, please put that in the chat and we will periodically address those and put them on screen and have Jodi give us her best answer to your questions. If it's more of a support thing or something about Descript, the app itself, Trevor's going to handle that with links and we can get you to the right Help Center article. So with that being said, it looks like big themes in the chat today. The storytelling is a popular angle. Just learning, wanting to learn more about Descript, which we love. Making better demo videos in Canada, says Susan. It will be worth your time, Susan, we promise. So schedule today. Use the chat. Let us know what your questions are. It is recorded. You'll get a link to that after, or you can go to our YouTube and see any of our webinars that we've done, including this one, shortly after it finishes. And then any questions you have about the Descript app itself, help.descript.com has an article. And if you ask a question in the chat, we will make sure you get a link to the specific one. Thanks to Trevor. Shout out Austin in the chat on LinkedIn. I see you there. Glazing a little bit in the chat, but I appreciate that, Austin. I'm not going to be doing most of the teaching. And true story, I had to go get my notebook because part of why I'm excited, I've seen the slides and talked with Jodi, but I need to become a better storyteller. So if you're in the chat saying I'm here to learn and take notes, I am right here with you. Jodi, you ready to go?
I'm ready. Let's do it. You also know it's live because my dog has decided that right now is the best time to find a toy. So she might make an appearance. You might hear a squeak. That's how you know we're real humans and real dogs here.
If only we could be so lucky.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Trevor. And thank you all for being here today to learn about product demo storytelling. Storytelling is pretty much the oldest form of human connection and human entertainment. And yet product demos are often the opposite: dull, dry, and forgettable. And so today we're going to close that gap so that you never create or have to do another dull product demo again. Instead, you're building product stories. So I love seeing in the chat some of the things that you are looking to do here. I saw you've got a sales rep that needs to do some demos because there's no more sales engineers. I see a lot of new products launching. I'd love to know if you can throw in the chat before we get started, what's your biggest product demo and product storytelling challenge? Hopefully we'll address them throughout the presentation. If not, we'll get to them in the Q&A at the end. And while you do that, I figured I would introduce myself. My name is Jodi Innerfield, a marketing strategist and consultant. I work mostly with tech companies, but some other types of companies on telling product stories and telling stories through messaging, launch strategy, narrative development. So launching products and figuring out how do we make sure people not just know about these products, but understand and love them. That's my bread and butter. That's what I help my clients do. And I learned how to do that through my 8 years and 9 tier 1 product launches at Salesforce, where I made and presented a lot of demos. Some were great, some were not great, but the difference was never the product, it was always the story. And I am co-host of the nerdiest Taylor Swift podcast out there, AP Taylor Swift. We do deep reading and literary analysis of Taylor Swift's lyrics. And I think Taylor Swift is the best storyteller out there. So basically, I'm a little obsessed with storytelling, and I am a storyteller. But we're all storytellers because we have heard this phrase once upon a time more than almost any phrase in our lives, or it's probably one of the earliest phrases that we have heard, because from bedtime stories to the Bible to Greek mythology, fables, every culture, every generation has stories that engage, they educate audiences, they teach and they explain. Movies and books entertain and persuade, and we're primed as people across generations and cultures and ages to find stories engaging, interesting, and to retain more information when it's presented to us in a story format. So if all of this is true, if stories are the most engaging way to communicate information, they educate, they persuade, and people love them, why don't stories show up more in business? Because the people who are buying products, whether you're B2B or B2C, those are people. Buyers are people. People love stories. So it's good business to lead with stories. But before we get into the good of how to tell a great story and great product storytelling, I want to start with the bad. What makes a bad story? And in this case, I want to start with what makes a bad movie, because movies are a form of storytelling we all probably consume. So drop in the chat, what do you think makes a bad movie? Because I'm very curious to see where this goes. But I want to start with 3 bad movies that, not my choice. I didn't say these were bad movies, but I may or may not agree. Rotten Tomatoes said these were bad movies. Not what you thought you'd see in a storytelling workshop today. But we've got Cats, Gigli, I can't even pronounce it, and Glitter. Well, according to Rotten Tomatoes and the reviews, Cats was just deeply boring. Gigli appeared to have been chopped up and put back together again more than once. And Glitter was called, sorry, Mariah Carey, total escapism without a shred of believability. So oh, great. I love this. Meandering storyline, plot holes. Yes, these are all things that make a bad movie. You're absolutely right, because a bad movie is not compelling, not structured, and not believable. Blah, blah conversations, slow pacing, exactly. And I think all of that comes down to these 3 things: not compelling, not structured, and not believable. You have to be engaged quickly. I agree, Elizabeth. Bad demos? What do we think then makes a bad demo? Very curious to see if there's something different, but spoiler alert, it's a lot of the same problems. Because most demos, sadly, most product demos are just a list of features. So all those things, slow pacing, meandering, plot holes, like those apply to demos as well. You end up with demos that are not compelling, not structured, and not believable when you have a demo that's just a feature tour. It has all three problems because that has no story. Which brings me to another fabulous storyteller, Walt Disney. Walt Disney shared that if the story is good, the picture may be good. But if the story is weak, good color, top actors, music, and animation cannot save it. Well, I've got a little variation on Mr. Disney. If the story is good, the demo may be good. Story is weak, good products, good features, and animation cannot save the demo. I don't care how good your product is. If you're not telling a story through your product storytelling, your product demo, it's not going to be good. You're not going to showcase to your customer, to your audience, why they should buy this product or why they should care. And this is me. Sorry, just attributing that not to Disney, but to me. So with that, we want to make sure that your product storytelling in your demos is great storytelling. So today you're going to walk away with the structure you need to tell product stories, the script, how you to script your stories that are not feature tours, and you're going to learn how to turn that script into something you are building in Descript. So all of this is going to help you, and my dog is agreeing, build compelling product demo stories. So let's start with the structure, because every story, no matter if it's on film, in a book, if you're just talking with friends, or in your product demos, has one thing in common. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. This is the same structure that all good stories have, this is the structure that makes something a story. Your beginning is your once upon a time. It's where you introduce a hero. You start to set up what is this ordinary world or the world that we're exploring, the start of your journey. The middle is when something changes until one day the hero gets thrown off balance. They go through obstacles, they find helpers, they have their adventure. This is the most of what is going on in the story until you get to the end where there is a resolution and the hero reaches their destination. They've learned their lesson, they understand, they've reached their aspirations and their goals. And this structure is what it means to be a story. And the great animators at Pixar, continuing the Disney theme, expanded this structure into the Pixar Story Spine. And that is going to be the foundation of how we learn product demo storytelling. This Pixar Story Spine comes from Matthew Loon and his book, The Best Story Wins. He was a Pixar animator who shared how to leverage storytelling in business. And it's a fabulous book. I highly recommend it. And I learned about the Pixar Story Spine from workshops with him and from reading his book. And basically, this is a structure that's used by Pixar animators to kind of fill in the blanks of the details of a story in a way that creates a progression that's relatable and memorable. So it works for demos because it really highlights the benefits of a product or a feature through how it changes a customer's experience in a way that's emotional, engaging, and memorable. So notice it's not saying the feature does this, the feature does this, the feature does this. It's saying the hero can now do these things because of the product. The book is called The Best Story Wins. So really, when you use the Pixar Story Spine for demos, you end up telling a story about a customer who uses a product to overcome a personal or professional challenge and have a transformation. So the customer is the hero. The product is what helps the hero reach their goal. I'm going to say that again because it's really important and it's sometimes hard for CEOs or product managers or people who've spent a really long time building a product. They think of, and we all think of often the product as the hero. The product is not the hero. The customer is the hero. The product helps the hero achieve their goals. People are buying your products. So people need to see themselves in the hero in order to be compelled and feel like what you're saying is relatable. So it's a lot of setup for the Pixar Story Spine. So you've got the Pixar Story Spine on the left. These are the steps. The only one where I have embellished and I add my own is in the what if. And I'm going to go through what this means specifically for product demos. I start with the what if because I think it's really important to ground us as marketers, sales, whatever we're doing in the hero's end goal, the desired state. What does my customer or my hero ultimately want to do? What is their end goal? Well, once upon a time is where we then introduce our hero, who is the customer. And every day they're doing something. So what is the hero's everyday challenge? Until one day is where that every day is disrupted and you are introducing the helper, which is your product. Because of that, now this is where we start to say what your product does, but we're not saying how great your product is. We're saying, what can your hero now do to get them towards their goal that they couldn't before? And because of that, what else? What else can they now do to get them towards their goal? And what else? Because of that, until finally they've reached their goal. And the moral of the story is whatever outcomes or results the hero now enjoys. This can be hard to just see on paper. So instead, I would like to show you a company that does this really well. It's Apple. Apple does product storytelling really well. I'm going to play this video. As you're watching, I want you to drop in the chat if you can identify who's the hero, what's the challenge, what's the desired end state or goal. You don't have to do all three, but as you see it or as you figure it out, and we're going to talk about it afterwards.
All right, everybody. Settle down. Take your seats. We have a lot to get to. Now, we have been exploring the journey of Odysseus, but I want to focus on his character arc, how he changes, how he grows, and sometimes regresses throughout the narrative.
Born with emotion, pushed into motion.
As the journey continues, we can see his humility begin to develop. But the question here is, did he truly change? Who has a strong opinion about this? Who has some thoughts? Yeah, Sophie.
Awesome. So I see we've got some thoughts in the chat on the hero, their challenge, the desired end state and goal. Yeah. So I also love this example because you can tell, if you notice, what they're talking about is The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell, which is basically a version, which is a storytelling framework and a version of the Pixar Story Spine, and every great story is basically the hero's journey. So that's my other little meta part of this presentation. So those features, Magnifier for Mac, takes on so much more meaning, not when you're just doing a product tour, but when you're showing how they benefit Sophie. So we're going to take a minute to go through what that table at Cupertino full of creatives talking about, how do we show this product, what they might have talked about to bring to life that ad. And it starts with what if. What is the end goal? Well, what if people could zoom in real life? It's kind of what they're doing, right? Well, once upon a time, Sophie was a student in college. And every day, Sophie struggled in her big lecture hall classes where, because of her eyesight, the board was far away, the writing was tiny. She spent so much time squinting at the board, trying to understand the professor's notes, she couldn't follow along and contribute, let alone enjoy class. But one day, Sophie found out about Magnifier on Mac. And because of that, Sophie was able to take a picture of the board and zoom in. And Sophie could change the text color to make the image more legible, easier to read. And she could parse out the text so it was clear, legible, and easy to follow along. Until finally, Sophie could fully follow along and take notes and participate in class. And since that day, Sophie has never struggled to understand the important details and could fully participate in class no matter where she sat. So as you can see, great product storytelling isn't about putting your product front and center. It's about showing what your product lets your customer accomplish. This is an emotional story, right? We see her transformation. We can see how Sophie goes from not being able to participate to feeling like part of the class and contributing. Yes, I love that. It's the focus of why the product and not what the product is doing. And to me, this is the main difference between feature storytelling and customer first storytelling. Feature storytelling is like going to New York City and having a tour guide point out the Empire State Building and point out the Statue of Liberty and point out Ellis Island. And then you can say, great, I saw those. Or you go to New York City and the tour guide tells the story of their grandmother on the ship coming, and when they sailed into New York Harbor, saw the Statue of Liberty, and that was the sign that she was finally almost in New York. And then she got off the boat at Ellis Island into where she now calls home. Same landmarks, very different experience and very different memory and emotional resonance. And so you're seeing the emotional impact. And then when I work with clients, this is usually the biggest challenge that teams have, focusing on the hero and their journey actually helps you tell the product story. Whereas focusing on a bunch of features actually hurts. It actually is counterintuitive until you see it in action. So speaking of seeing it in action, what I just showed you, obviously that ad didn't have a full script. That was more of a storyboard. But what does it look like when you are writing a product demo script? So let's say you're doing a product demo video that's going to be on your website. Maybe hint, you're going to record something with Descript. How do you turn the Pixar Story Spine into a product script? Well, again, we are going to start with the Pixar Story Spine and basically fill it in, which is what the Pixar animators intended us to do. So basically, step one is say as much as you need to say to fill in the story. And today we're going to leave Sophie behind, and instead we're going to work on something that maybe we are all trying to do, which is be marketers that need to build product demos. So step one is filling in the blanks and answering the questions. So what if product marketers could create, edit, and localize their demo videos on their own? I spent many times at Salesforce, and a lot of my clients outsource demo videos to agencies. Or maybe one person builds the demo and another team has to localize it, and another team, then it goes to social to create clips. But what if product marketers could just do it on their own? Well, once upon a time, Jodi was a PMM at a large tech company with a looming launch deadline, not at all speaking from experience. And every day, Jodi checked in with her product team as the launch approached, waiting for the product to be ready. Since it's the launch video, the agency had a long lead time, needed to create a high fidelity video. They needed to localize the demo for different regions. The launch date approached and the product still wasn't ready. Deadline slipped, meaning no localization, maybe even no video. How would customers know what the product does? But one day, Jodi got an email from Descript, and she thought the platform was just for podcast editing, but she was delighted to see it included video editing too. And because of that, when a week before the launch, Jodi finally got her hands from the product team on the new product, she fired up Descript, started recording herself using the product, following her carefully constructed demo script. And Descript made it easy to record her screen and her voice. She re-recorded easily without having to redo the video. She edited herself with text-based editing, could drag and drop in different layouts and zoom in where she needed to. And with Descript had language translation built in, so she could localize it herself for different regions. She could even make smaller video clips for social, so they had content to support the launch. Until finally, with Descript, Jodi fully recorded, edited, and delivered the demo video in time for the launch. And since that day, what once took weeks of agency time and thousands of dollars in budget now takes PMMs like Jodi mere hours to create, or not even hours, minutes to create beautiful, engaging demo videos all on her own. So this is my brain dump fill in the blanks. It's a working document. Now we tighten this into a script. To do that, sorry guys. Couple demo screenwriting tips I have for you. The first is using fewer, simpler words. Use a 2-cent word as opposed to a $2 word, and shorten your sentences. This, spoiler alert, are things that Descript really helps with as well, but you always want to go through on that first pass and just see where can I cut? Because when you're giving a demo, when you're pitching a demo, especially if you're doing a demo video or if you're doing something on a keynote floor, You want to say, get your point across simply, clearly, and succinctly. You also really want to make sure you're focusing on what does this let me do and accomplish versus where do I click next. So even in that initial brain dump story, I can see places where I'm like, ooh, you know what? That was more about where I click and what I do versus what this lets me do. What's the transformation? What are the benefits here? And so that's something I'm going to keep in mind as I transition into turning this into a script. Also, on that note, want to remember your audience and their transformation. That's really what's going to help you stay out of feature sprawl and become turning into a feature tour. Focus on the hero. The hero should be reflective of your audience and the transformation that your hero and the audience want to accomplish. And of course, know what you want to show and add it to your script. You want to know what parts of the product. This is where it's great that there's a feature laundry list that your PM, your CEO has for you. You want to make sure they show up on screen, but that might not and probably will not be in your actual talk track, because then we have a feature tour. And this, again, is also where I spend a lot of time with clients, not necessarily convincing them to cut features, but instead helping them tighten scripts and storytelling so that it always connects back to the hero's goal. So that very long brain dump story turns into this much tighter actual script. And this is the format that I use when I'm building a script. I've got my products that I'm showing or my storyboard on the left. I have my script in the middle that I can go through quickly. And then I have my demo driving notes or my click path. Again, whether I am doing this myself in front of a customer or giving this on a keynote stage, or if I'm recording this in Descript for a demo video, I want to know, where am I clicking? Even though I'm not talking about where I'm clicking or how I'm doing it. I'm talking about the transformation, but I am showing the product. So here's how I turned my Pixar Story Spine into my demo script. Well, every product launch needs a product demo video, but they're time consuming to build, expensive to edit, and hard to get right. Well, what if product marketers could do it all on their own and fast? Jodi's a PMM at a large tech company with a looming launch deadline, but the product team hasn't delivered the product yet, so Jodi can't get the agency started on the video. The launch date's almost here, deadlines are slipping, there might be no demo video. How would customers know what the product does? Then Jodi got an email from Descript about their video editing. With a week until launch, Jodi got her hands on her new product, fired up Descript, and gave it her demo script. She put her script in, and Descript mapped out the story beats, noting where to put B-roll, where to use a talking head, and where to show the product. She used text-based editing to edit the video herself, selecting different layouts, zooming in to showcase the product how she wants, and she localized the video for different regions in minutes. She could even make smaller video clips for social. So in a matter of hours, Jodi fully recorded, edited, and delivered the demo video in time for the launch. And since that day, what once took weeks of agency time and thousands of dollars in budget now takes PMMs like Jodi mere hours or minutes to create beautiful, engaging demo videos all on her own. So this is where you go from the Pixar Story Spine, to a brain dump, to a script. But now we're going to go to the meta part, because we're going to bring this to life and hop into Descript and show what it is actually like to build a demo video. So what if PMMs could build their own demos fast? And I did a little bit of this with all of this, so it's been really fun to get into the product more and see it come to life. Well, here we have in Descript, and when you get started, you can do it a couple of ways. I've dropped in the entire script. I've also, in this case, loaded the entire video, and you can see the entire transcript. And instead of having to go at the bottom and adjust and edit all of the things by that little bar, I can instead highlight text and just delete it. So this is text-based editing. I can just go in and delete specific things, and that's how I'm editing the actual clips of the video. I can even change specific words. So let's say instead of media, I wanted to say platform. I could regenerate the audio and even regenerate the video to match the words, and without having to re-record, because re-recording is a total pain. And remember, one of the things I talked about for scripting is clarity and using fewer words and shortening your sentences. Descript has this built in. It will suggest cuts for you. You can opt into the cuts yourself. It's not going to automatically apply them. You can see how this might work for you. And in addition to editing for clarity, you can also remove filler words. I don't even want to know how many times in this presentation I've accidentally said ums and ahs and Descript will identify all of those and cut them out. And it can also remove retakes. So again, when you're recording a video, you often will do it multiple times. Now I don't have to stop, start, I can do it all in one go. And it's going to go in and automatically identify what was a retake and where do I want to just cut out and keep with only the good part. So this makes core editing way faster. When I'm doing demo videos, the other thing that I'm always thinking about is what am I showing on screen? Because again, at the end of the day, I need to show the product. Descript has different layouts that I can use to make sure I am showing only what I want to show and how I want to show it. I can't tell you how many times as a product marketer I've had to copy and paste on that fake web browser bar. So it's really helpful that something is in there. And I can go in and just kind of upload the different, drag and drop in the different videos I want. I can choose different layouts. Again, if I need mobile, if I want to do more of a side-by-side talking head version, I can do that as well. And this, again, is something that often takes hours or days in agencies, and now I don't have to. And then finally, social. I saw somebody in the chat early on said they wanted to know how can you use video as part of your launch strategy. Having multiple clips of your demo video in different lengths and formats for different stages and channels is one way to get more out of your video. Video shouldn't be one thing that you do and that's it. How can you get more out of your demo video? Descripts will help identify clips and you can say what duration you want. You can even say what specifically you want this clip to be about. So I think in this video there was shrimp. So I'm saying, cool, identify the parts where there's shrimp clips and Descript is going to go in and do that for you. So you can identify exactly if there was a line that you're like, ooh, that would make a great social clip. Descript will find it for you and suggest the clip, which is a lot faster than having to go through the entire thing on your own to find the right things. And finally, one thing that I think was always super important as a product marketer in a global organization is localization, right? And I remember many times having to make trade-offs between regions in order to determine, well, localization and translation was really expensive. Descript has it built in. So before it used to cost thousands of dollars and take weeks. Now I can select multiple languages. I can dub the audio. I can even lip sync the video so it looks like it was a natural language speaker all in one go. And this is a really amazing way to make sure that you are thinking globally and getting more scale out of your video. Video is a really important, and now I know how to say shrimp in Russian and German. So that's pretty cool too. So video is a really important tool and asset as marketers, but it has to be done right? It has to be storytelling. And you also want to make sure you're getting more out of your video. So it's not just about creating one product demo video. How can you get more scale out of that video and turn it into social clips, make sure it's available in different regions? And Descript has built-in capabilities to help you accomplish those, which as a product marketer only makes me better at my job because it means that I can help the content team, I can help my global teams, and that helps me with my launch. So what did we just see? We just saw a lot. We saw how you speed up self-service editing with text-based editing. We saw how Descript can help me create concise stories with assisted edit for clarity. We saw how I can identify the best social clips in seconds and how I can launch globally quickly with translation and dubbing. And notice, I'm not giving you a feature list here. I'm giving you what this lets me do. I am the product marketer. The product marketer here is the hero. So yeah, I showed you a lot of features, but I showed you how they benefit me, how they transform my experience as a marketer. And that is way more impactful than just showing a bunch of features, because now I understand exactly what it would be like for me and how it's going to shape my job and my time. So that was a whirlwind tour of Descript and of product demo storytelling. I now hope you have the keys, what I consider the keys to product demo storytelling and hashtag no more dull demos. You've got the structure with the Pixar Story Spine for a hero goal versus a feature first format. You know how to script using fewer words, focused on what does this product let me do to reach the customer's transformation. And you now know how to build in Descript for fast and easy to use editing. And this is, again, the work that I do with companies and teams to help them tell better product stories that are not feature tours. And now you have the tools to do the same thing. So thank you for taking I told you to be less than an hour of your time today with us. I've got a list of storytelling recs in addition to this book. If you can follow and DM me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to share them over, but I'm also happy to answer some questions. So Aaron, I don't know if we've got some questions, whether they're about Descript or storytelling, marketing, Taylor Swift podcast. I did see someone ask my dog's name. Her name is Mrs. Maisel. So
Yes. We have a lot of great questions. Here is one about using your own story as an example. Is that something you would encourage product marketers to do? Like, I assume I had the problem, so I built the product to solve my own problem, and now I can help you as the context here.
I think whenever I'm thinking about audiences, I'm always thinking about my audience. Who is the audience? So in this instance, I'm assuming that this is an audience of marketers or people who have to make product demos. So that's why I use my own story. So if you are your audience, then sure. But if you are not your audience, then no, I don't think that your own story would resonate because that's not something they're going to identify with, if that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely. Keep the questions coming, but we have a good backlog. So I'm going to bring them to you, Jodi, in chronological order. If you want to take the marketing part, I can help with the Descript. Can it do it in the app side?
Perfect.
Scran Life on YouTube has had a couple of great questions. This was the first one. What if you're doing a product demo of a direct-to-consumer mobile app? Any Story Spine marketing type tips for them?
The Story Spine still works. Again, what changes is who is your audience? Who is your hero? So if you're direct to consumer, who is the hero? Who is that audience? And what do they want? What is their goal? So again, that's why I love the Story Spine, because it works whether you're writing Finding Nemo or whether you're trying to sell a D2C mobile app or a B2B software. Like, I have used this Story Spine on Salesforce demos. Those are not sexy products at all. But putting a story to it and putting the, Salesforce admin or the developer in the hero's seat or the CIO or whoever it is, you are relating to that person and you're finding the emotional connection. So I would say if you're doing a product demo of a D2C mobile app, who's the audience and what's important to them?
Yep. And on the more technical side with the app, Scran Life, we've had a lot of questions about mobile apps. If it's mobile, there's really two ways to approach it. You can do a screen recording while you're on your own app and then drop that into Descript. Or another thing you can do is more UGC style, user-generated content, where you film yourself on your phone. Or if it's a web app and you're on a laptop, it's more of a selfie video and you see the laptop through the phone instead of just screen recording. There's different ways to do that, but you can either screen record in Descript itself or take any video you've recorded from any camera and put it into your project. So you can definitely do mobile apps. There was another question about Android versus iPhone, and I appreciate Hamond letting us know. With Android Studio, you can essentially mirror your phone onto a Windows device. If you're in the Mac ecosystem, you can do your iPhone screen share and put it on your desktop, and you can record anything and it just mirrors what your iPhone sees. Any app that you're in, any setting or menu will show up there. And then you can screen record your Mac and capture what your phone is showing there. So there's always a way to do that. How about product walkthrough that's 22 minutes long. What do you have for Goldie Box on YouTube? with
Yeah. I mean, I would say a product walkthrough is very different than a product storytelling, right? Product walkthrough is a feature tour. So I think that that's serving a different purpose than a product story. I still think you should have a story behind it. But again, who is the audience for this product walkthrough? Is it, someone who's already purchased the product and literally just needs to know how to use it? Fine. But if you're trying to compel or engage or educate, you probably want something that is more in a story format that, again, can show the features. I understand a product walkthrough that's 22 minutes long because that's what every product manager wants. They want you to show off every single feature. But again, I go back to who is the audience and what is their what if, what is their end goal, and how do you show their transformation and their emotional transformation or their job transformation or whatever it is that your product does. That's how you're going to get something tighter and more compelling that I think will compel, educate, engage.
And would you say, Jodi, that the same idea of editing for clarity and not just telling them about click here, click here, click here, it's more
applies.
Yeah.
It all applies. Yeah. And again, like there is sometimes a need for, I need to show you exactly how to use this product because you are an admin that is now onboarding and bringing this product, building this product. That's not product storytelling. That's onboarding, right? That's a different purpose. So if we're doing product storytelling, keep it clear, concise. Again, anytime somebody rambles, no matter what it is in life, you get bored. We don't want bored audiences. Edit for clarity.
Yes. And then to your question, Goldie Box, about the max length, the only real limit is if you're uploading a file, 50 gigabytes is the limit unless you are on an enterprise plan. So if you're 1080p, that's hours of video. If you're 4K, that's at least an hour. And you can record in Descript, so you don't always have to bring files in, but that's the only length. I have video projects that are over 4 hours long in Descript. They're not product demos. Jodi doesn't have to tell me to edit for clarity, but if you're doing something like a online course or a really long podcast episode, there's no, oh, you're at your max limit, you can't keep recording. And then just some positive feedback here from John on LinkedIn for Jodi and the strategy that you're bringing, that it feels like cheating, but not because we're cutting corners.
A great framework just makes it more clear. Oh, okay, I get it. And now that you know the Pixar Story Spine, whether you're watching a Pixar movie or any other thing, you'll start to see it come to life. And you'll be like, oh my God, I understand that now. And you will see really bad demos and really bad stories that don't follow this. And you'll say, oof, I know what they did wrong.
Yes. And then I guess I have to take this challenge from John. I will do it in far less than 20 seconds. Editing. I only need one word. That is my pitch. Go edit in both, and then you just let me know which you prefer. And that's the biggest thing we hear from people who come to Descript from one of our competitors, is just the editing experience, the transcript. Jodi did a really good job showing it. Continuing, how about a pretty detailed question here from Jill on YouTube about the UI, rather than the technical thing with, does Descript capture it? But what are your suggestions on making that an important part of your video versus, you saw on the Apple demo that you showed. Yeah, they clicked the menu a little bit, but there's no text specs. And it wasn't, even on the phone, I don't think it showed anything other than the first pop-up. What's your advice on including parts of the UI and all of that when you're making these videos?
You would be surprised how much the UI actually matters when you're telling a great story, right? The Sophie example I love, because you understand exactly the transformation, that now she can see what she's doing, that you don't need to see every little mouse click and every little zoom in. You just need to have the aha moment, and you see a couple clips of what's happening both on screen, but also you see her in her environment and the transformation overall. That's the essence of customer first or hero first storytelling versus feature first storytelling. Yes, we saw the product. The product helped her reach her transformation. So you don't need to show nearly as much of the UI as you think. And that's where I think product managers or, GMs get really annoyed until you see the emotional impact of a hero first story and you see the aha moment. Like put two in front of a customer, a feature tour versus like a hero first story, and you'll see the difference. And if the goal is to sell a product, you want the story that's going to sell the product, which is much more likely to happen when you have something that's emotionally resonant and engaging.
With the Sophie example, what I thought of was the aha moment wasn't when the screen connected or she could see. The aha moment was just her hand going up. It didn't even show a Mac device. It didn't show the professor. It didn't show her.
Correct.
It was now she can participate and be the first one to say something when the professor asks for questions.
Exactly.
Whereas without the product, she'd be squinting, confused, embarrassed.
Exactly. And that's why you focus on the transformation and the what if and like what's the end goal. Because the end goal isn't, they get to use my product. No, what does that product enable them to do in their life? That's the end goal.
Okay, how about this one from Susan on YouTube? What if you have multiple heroes?
Oh, why?
We all have. Everyone's our hero, right? Everyone could use our app and our tool.
I go back to who is the audience that you're trying to reach on a specific channel. So if let's say I think in like a B2B SaaS perspective, because that's my background and that's most of my clients. So maybe you have like a buying committee. Well, what's, is it CIO, CFO? Like why? What's the goal? And how can you pick a hero that lets you share how you help that here, like how it reaches their goal? So for an example, I just told this whole story from the perspective of a PMM, but perhaps you're selling to the CMO and the PMM and the CFO. Well, the story then is something as simple as how can you make your team launch products faster and launch, get everything they need to do for a launch faster and use fewer tools or save budget, save time. So there's always a way to like up level it a little bit, but to the best of your ability, depending upon the channel, narrow in on the audience. Because if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. So you just end up with muddied water if you have too many heroes in one thing. You could have multiple videos. You could have multiple different, pieces of content that tell different stories. But if you're doing one story, how can you pick one hero and one audience and one end goal transformation?
Yeah, absolutely. How about this one? Scran Life, who's had a lot of great questions on YouTube today. Are there any product demos that maybe emotional transformation isn't the best, or is that always the way we should go? If I sell a very unsexy, boring financial product or landscaping or something, is there ever a time to not go for the emotional transformation?
My gut is to say no, that if as long as it's humans and not AI buying your product, an emotional transformation is probably going to win. I mean, look at even car commercials, right? They're not you see that inside of the car, but there's a reason the car is driving through a gorgeous location, or like that's aspirational. They're selling you the emotional feeling of what it's like to be that car owner. For, QuickBooks, that's my definition of like an unsexy product and happy tax day. You just want to get your taxes done and paid right, and you don't want to stress over it. So yeah, that's an emotional transformation. The end goal, like the transactional end goal, is filing your taxes. But the real what if is, what if I didn't have to stress about filing my taxes? What else could I do with my time? That's an emotional transformation to tell tax software. I should be charging QuickBooks for that.
Yeah. What if you didn't dread it as you looked ahead on your calendar going, oh, my whole Saturday's ruined. I'm going to have to do my taxes.
My whole March and half of April.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And we knew we were going to get questions in the chat. So if you're on YouTube, you should be able to
Oh,
click
yes.
the link.
AP Taylor
Here-
Swift. You can find us on wherever you listen to podcasts. Today's episode was on transcendentalism and Mother Earth. Told you we're dorky.
Yeah, we all know somebody who has a niche Taylor Swift podcast,
Correct.
and if you don't, now you know Jodi, and she
Now you
has
know
one.
me.
Yes. Well, that has been awesome. We are going to move on here to the outro, and if you haven't already, make sure that you keep things in front of you. We're going to send an email that has a link to this full recording. We had some people come in late. I'm sure if you left early, it'll be on our YouTube channel, and we'll send that to you, including links to Jodi's stuff. I know there were a lot of people screenshotting when the framework was up there. We'll send you that. The QR code on your screen right now with the heart below it is 3 questions of feedback. We want our marketing to be more storytelling and less click buttons in Descript to make videos, which is exactly why we brought Jodi on. And if you've been here for more than 3 minutes, you have learned something and become a better storyteller. And we want to hear your positive feedback for how today went. If you want to talk to somebody on our team about bringing Descript to your group of more than 5, that's our enterprise, we can have somebody reach out to you. We also have webinars, sometimes multiple a week, on more app learning focus versus marketing help. Make sure you check our schedule, which is on Luma, and you can just subscribe there to get those. If you have any questions, you can reach out on our socials, and I will make sure the right person helps you out. We have support webinars on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you're having more of a technical question, less of a demo, but just technical. If you're looking for more of the hangout space, that would be in our Discord server on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Most of you know Marcelo. He's the main character hanging out on the live. Trevor's usually in there as well. And then you can catch us with anything on our Luma calendar coming up next. Jodi, I have 4 pages of notes that I took, so I can only imagine people who hadn't met you before and didn't kind of know what they were walking into. The chat has been overwhelmingly positive, and people thanking you, saying this is great. It's exactly what I needed. I'm so glad I came. So thank you for all of your preparation and sharing your expertise with those of us that are not, theater background, storytelling background marketers.
Thank you all for spending some time. And Maisel was here, but she's over. She's heard this one before.
Yes, we got questions for the dog, and even some people said we love dogs. They were hoping that your dog would come on screen. So I saw that, and that is, yes, that's a fitting conclusion. So thank you everybody for joining. We will get you the follow-up material soon. Jodi, again, thank you very much for sharing your expertise with all of us.
Thanks for having me.